Hey guys, welcome to Punky's World. This is a new series that we're doing on the channel in our wrestling playlist. It is Dark Side of the Ring. Season 4 will start May 30th. Now, I don't know if these are in order of how they'll air, but I'm kind of moving here. I'm going to move my chair back a little bit so I stop moving, so that it's up against the, there we go. Now it's up against the table so it won't move so much. Like I said, I don't know if these are the order in which they'll air or not, but I'm just going to give them to you in the order that I saw them, tell you what I think they'll be about. Okay. Abdullah the Butcher. You knew they had to go there sooner or later. They're probably going to talk about, they're going to talk about is bloody wrestling and all the bloody feuds he had. And he's now 81 years old. In failing health, and apparently has no money. So they'll talk about that. They'll probably talk about the hepatitis lawsuit, which is where a lot of his money went, because he's an idiot. Anyway, the hepatitis lawsuit was another wrestler who he cut, because in matches with Abdullah, he cuts you. You don't blade. Abdullah was also bleeding, and he got hepatitis C. The other gentleman, because Abdullah had hepatitis C. Now, wrestling doesn't have the very best history as far as that goes. I remember The Undertaker being absolutely furious when he found out after his match with Randy Orton, where Randy Orton's father got involved. It was a cage match. Randy Orton's father bled. Well, The Undertaker found out afterwards that Bob Orton had hepatitis C. He said, "You could have told me that." He said, "You put me at risk." He was livid. So there have been other issues. Mike Awesome. I don't know exactly what they'll talk about. They'll talk about his not so awesome career, and what, hopefully, the events that led up to his ending his own life. Bam Bam Bigelow. They'll talk about his career, which was really good. I hope Chris Jericho's back to host, but I don't know. And they'll talk about his death. I don't remember what exactly his death was, like I'm just not sure. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was drug related or what it was, but if I can guess, we'll find out. The next one is Chris Candido and Tammy Sytch. That's just a train wreck. She was a teenager from New Jersey who met a very young wrestler, and they just started a relationship. They ended up both addicted to drugs. He ended up dying of blood clot because he flew with a terrible leg injury, and a blood clot went to his lung. Marty Jannetty. That's an interesting one. I think you're going to talk a lot about drugs. maybe girls, because I have a feeling both were a big problem for him. I have a feeling drugs are still a big problem for him. Um, every time I've seen him, he's been utterly loaded. So, I mean, eyes barely open, and the way he talks, really slow, and or just talks like he's loaded. Um, so I think that's going to be the conversation there. Um, these are my opinions. Like I said, based on, God, 40 years of wrestling knowledge and fanship. The next one's Magnum TA. They're going to talk about his accident. Obviously. They're probably going to talk about the rise of his career, his accident. I don't know if they'll touch on the fact that in real life, he married his in-ring arch rival's ex-wife, raised their kids. But they might touch on that, that he actually married Tully Blanchard's ex-wife and raised the kids. They consider him as much of a father as Tully, if not more, because of Tully's problems. And Tully will tell you that. Tully has said openly, I appreciate what he did. Because there was no animosity in real life. I just think it's really funny, Next one's the Sandman. The Sandman is drunk. I don't know whether he's sober now or not, but I'm sure they're going to touch on the fact that the man's a drunk, or was. And how he rose in ECW and all that stuff. Adrian Adonis. They're probably going to talk about the rise of his career, his metamorphosis into the adorable one, sort of a cross-dressing character, and his untimely death in an automobile accident. That would be my guess. Again, all of these are educated guesses based on, like I said, 40 years of being a wrestling fan and knowing most of these. Matter of fact, I know all of these very, very well, except I'm not as familiar with Mike Awesome. I've seen him wrestle. I heard how he died, but I'm not as familiar with him. Sandman, I'm more familiar with him than Mike Awesome. I know he was married. I know he had a son. I don't know whether that lasted. Again, the bottle. But my guess is, as far as interviews go for each of these, the gentleman that Abdul Butcher gave Hep C to, I'm sure will be there. I'm sure if they find family members of his, they'll be there. Mike Awesome, probably some family, some other wrestlers that knew him. Same thing with Abdullah. Bam Bam, other wrestlers that knew him, maybe family. Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch, they may be family. Other wrestlers, of course. There's always other wrestlers. Marty Jannetty, I almost guarantee Shawn Michaels will be there. Other wrestlers, maybe promoters, things like that. Magnum TA. They'll be family. He might even be on there. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Magnum's not on his own episode. Just because it's nothing bad and he wasn't killed in the accident. So Magnum's a pretty straight up guy. So his wife will probably be there. Maybe Tully's kids, and other wrestlers, of course, although the funny thing is the wrestlers that knew him best are dead. Well, actually, Ric Flair will probably be on that one. Sandman, I guarantee you Raven will be on that one. Maybe Paul Heyman. No, definitely Paul Heyman. His ex-wife, maybe? His son, if he's old enough. I think he's old enough. I think he's an adult now. Adrian Adonis, his wife will be there. If Roddy Piper were alive, he would be there. Kitty might be there. I say that because I know how close they were. And they've already spoke at the funeral. So I know Mrs. Frank will be there, or Frankie, because his name was Keith Frankie, or Frank. I know his wife will be there. Probably other wrestlers who were in the accident that survived. Other wrestlers that knew him, Jimmy Hart, for sure. So that's my opinion. Like I said, unfortunately, with some of these guys, a lot of the people who knew them are gone. You know, a lot of people that knew Magnum are gone, like Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Piper. And same thing with Adrian Adonis, you know. Chris Candido, you'll probably see Jim Cornette. You'll probably, and Tammy said she'll probably see Jim Cornette, most likely. You will see, you might see Jim Cornette and Abdullah. Not sure about Marty. You will see him in Magnum TA, probably. Most likely. And if he's up to it, you might see J.J. Dillon in a couple of these. I'm thinking Magnum TA, possibly Abdullah. So. And you'll see guys that grew up idolizing these guys, too. It would be nice if the Magnum TA one, they had Christopher Daniels. And I'll explain why. If you're saying he never wrestled him, no kidding. He was someone that he inspired, and he got to see him wrestle once before the accident, and he can talk about that and how he inspired him. So I think that's definitely, in my mind, someone to go to, but you know, for memories. So, that is my opinion. They're my opinions alone. Again, it starts May 30th. I am not sure if the order in which they're written here, like I said, is the order that they'll be in. I just, for some reason, I can't see him starting with a bang like Abdullah and ending with Adonis. But, you know, because you would think the season finale would be the big one. You know? I could even see Magnum TA be in the finale. Or Abdullah, quite frankly. End with a huge bang, you know what I mean? But we'll see what they decide to do. You know, they build, you know, if I were laying out the order, okay, I would start with Mike Awesome, I would go to Bigelow, Jannetty, I would start with Jannetty, go to Mike Awesome, go to Bigelow, Candido, Sandman, Adonis, Magnum, Abdullah. Something along those lines. Maybe, let's see, Jannetty, Awesome, Bigelow, Candido and Sitch, Sandman, Bigelow, Adonis, Candido and Sitch, Sandman and Adonis, wait a minute, Jannetty, Awesome, Bigelow, Adonis, Candido and Sitch, Magnum TA, and Abdullah the Butcher. Would be my order. But I'm not in control of show order, obviously. But I think that builds. You know what I mean? It builds from the least to the most. You know? From sort of the lightest content with Jannetty, just being a complete moron, going down to Abdullah, who's something out of a horror movie. So it builds that way, in my opinion. Like I said, these are my opinions based on my knowledge. But I'm thinking this is the order. I'm thinking that the order that I'm looking at is the order. Because I'm thinking they wrote it that way, because that's the order. So Abdullah's going to give me nightmares. But I was so terrified of him as a little kid. Until I actually, like, heard a real interview with him. And he's just a regular guy. A little warped, but a regular guy, you know. Quite soft-spoken. Apparently very uneducated by his own account. Second-grade education. Oh, he has a son. His son might be on there. So, evidently, a lot of what he lost because of lack of education and lack of understanding of things he was signing and stuff. So, and that is sad. He's not as scary a person when you hear the soft-spoken, simple person that he is. And I'm not saying he's simple in a negative way. I'm not saying as in, or as in a handicapped way. I'm saying simple as in plain. You know, there's nothing outrageous about him when he speaks. He's actually soft-spoken. I'd almost say shy when it comes to speaking, which is why he never did. If you've never heard him speak, seek out an interview, because you will find a few. Because he was a blood and guts guy, he spent most of his career in Puerto Rico, which they're known for that, working with Bruiser Brody and Carlos Colon. Yeah, Carlos Colon will probably be on that one too. You know, so, but he was in world class, and he spent a little bit of time in WCW. And he didn't do so much blood in WCW when he was there. He never would have fit WWE or WWF, whichever. But evidently, they put him in the Hall of Fame for some odd reason. I still don't know. Check that out too, because you'll hear him talk, you know. His last name is Sharif. I cannot remember his first name. That's awful, because I knew it. But when you're a little kid and you think wrestling is real, you think this guy's going to come in your door and scalp you or something. You know, that's how it was as a little kid, you know. I already had enough anxiety issues. Oh, I hated walking past the door at night. Not being able to see outside and not being able to see what's outside that door. Hated it. I was absolutely terrified of the dark. Not so much anymore. I still have anxiety. It's pretty well controlled with medication. I will tell you that. I have no shame about that. I should have been on medication when I was a kid for anxiety, not for hyperactivity. But anyway, I wasn't on that very long. Trying to think. So yeah, I had, it's horrible. I think now that the Great Muda's in the Hall of Fame, going to the same, and this does tie in with Abdullah, by the way, because I think the Great Kabuki should go in. The Great Kabuki was another one that fought Abdullah. And another one that was managed by the same person that managed Abdullah at one time. Well, at different times, they were both managed by Gary Hart. So, And Gary Hart is passed on. A lot of these guys are, not passed on from anything bad, just age, you know. Um, I mean, Roddy Piper died of a heart attack at 61 years old, but he died of a heart attack, in his sleep. Dusty was in his 70s, but he died of a fall. Trying to think. So the people that could be there are gone because either age or, in Roddy's case, natural causes. Like I said, Dusty had a nasty fall. The 911 call is public, by the way, on that. You can hear Michelle trying to keep him down, which is what you would expect, because he fell, he busted his head open. But for him, I mean, how many times has that happened in the ring? He just doesn't, that doesn't faze him, He wanted to get up, but she knew he was hurt more than just busting his head open. And you can hear her trying to keep him down in the 911 call. And I guess once he went in the hospital, organ systems started failing for some reason. And I don't know if there was a significant amount of blood loss that caused organ systems to start failing or what happened, but ultimately his kidneys failed. So he basically had the same thing my mother did, kidney failure. The funny thing is, I think my mother would be pleased, as odd as this is about to sound, by her death certificate. It does not mention smoking, which I wouldn't want it to, but it also doesn't mention her COPD. It simply says renal failure. So, but yeah, that's why you're not going to see the guys you could see on some of these because they're gone. But I'm going to stop jibber jabbering at you so I can get these edited. Well, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to have them edited early today. And start getting these up. But yeah, I wanted to, excuse me, talk to you about that. So this is going to be a new series. Every week from when it starts, I'm going to review them. But I have to wait until I can get them on YouTube because I don't have Vice TV. So I'm going to have to wait till I get them on YouTube. So they may be a little bit late from when they were on. But I intend to watch every single one of these. They all look good. This is going to be one of the best seasons ever. In my opinion. So, let me know in the comments if you plan on watching, which one you're most looking forward to. I'm most looking forward to Magnum TA, I think. Although, they're, like I said, they're all going to be awesome. But in a way, Magnum. But I'm fascinated to see what they come up with for some of these, Some of these they could do, a two-parter on. See, and that's the thing, too. They're showing 8 episodes, but some of them might be two-parters. So there might actually be 12 episodes, you know what I mean? Abdullah could easily be a two-parter. Sandman might. Candido and Sitch could definitely be a two-parter, focusing mostly on him in the first part and on her in the second part. You know what I mean? So, you never know. And they don't specifically state that. So, people have said, well, there's less episodes. There's only 8 episodes. But there might not be. Because they do two-parters. So, we'll see. like I said, let me know which one you're most looking forward to, and I'll have to admit I'm looking forward to Abdullah. I know that sounds strange coming from me, but it could be very interesting. Candido and Stitch is a train wreck, but it's a train wreck that you can't look away from. Mike Awesome, sad, but I don't know a lot about him, so it'll be interesting. Like I said, Bam Bam, interesting. You know, they're all interesting. Marty Jannetty, another train wreck. But anyway, thank you for joining me. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You can customize them. Bye, guys.